The Galactic Council chamber was so large that distance lost meaning. Platforms floated in endless layers, each carrying beings that looked nothing alike. Some were made of flesh and bone, others shimmered like glass. A few did not even have solid shapes, existing as fields of light and sound. At the center platform stood Ambassador Kaler Vryn, a senior voice of the council. His skin shifted colors as he spoke, a natural signal of his mood. Right now, it was pale and calm. "The matter before us is routine," he announced. "The species known as humans has once again requested limited recognition within the council." The chamber reacted instantly. Mockery rippled through the air, clicking mandibles, pulses of laughter transmitted directly into shared neural space. Some species didn't even bother hiding their amusement. 300 years of space travel, Vryn continued smoothly. No independent faster-than-light capability, constant internal conflict, an obsession with weapons and borders. They are not ready. On a small platform far from the center, two humans stood in sealed environmental suits. Sarah Chen kept her posture straight. Marcus Webb clenched his jaw so hard it hurt. They had spent 5 years preparing for this moment, studying alien customs, learning restraint, learning silence, learning how to swallow anger without showing it. None of it mattered. "The Council's decision is unanimous," said Vryn. "Earth's request is denied." Sarah felt heat rise in her chest, but her face stayed calm. "There is more," the ambassador added. "Humanity has been classified as unstable. Until further notice, all advanced technologies will remain restricted. Humanity will remain confined to its home system." The word confined landed like a blade. "We understand," Sarah said evenly. "We will relay your decision." The council believed the conversation was over. What they did not know was that Earth had stopped asking for permission decades ago. Far from council sensors, beyond ordinary patrol routes, the cold rock of an asteroid had been hollowed out into something impossible. Deep tunnels led to glowing chambers filled with machinery that no alien science had ever imagined. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked those corridors slowly. She was 73 years old, her hair silver, her hands steady. 3 generations of her family had worked toward this moment. While the galaxy dismissed dark matter as untouchable, humanity had treated it like a challenge. "Final stability test is complete," a young engineer whispered. "The system held." Elena closed her eyes, not in triumph, in relief. In orbit beyond Neptune, hidden in shadows no sensor could pierce, a massive ship waited. It was not elegant, it was not graceful, it was built like a fist. Admiral James Okoro stood on its bridge, staring at a starfield that hid more enemies than allies. "Activate trial phase," he said quietly. Reality bent. The ship did not jump forward, it did not vanish, it slipped under space itself. And in that moment, humanity crossed a line the galaxy believed could never be crossed. Back in the council chamber, the laughter faded and the meeting moved on. They never noticed the silence that followed. Because while the council thought humanity had accepted its place, something ancient had just noticed that humans had learned how to walk in the dark. Inside the layer beneath normal space, silence ruled. The ship moved without sound, without friction, without resistance. Stars above were distant echoes, blurred and unreachable. This place was not empty, it was heavy. Dark matter pressed against the hull, like a deep ocean pressing against a submarine.
Admiral James Okoro watched the sensor displays flicker with information that no human eyes had ever seen before. "Steady," he said. "Keep us aligned." The crew moved carefully. This was not faster than light travel. This was something stranger. The ship was not traveling through space. It was moving beneath it. For 60 years, humanity had worked in silence. While alien observers watched Earth's surface, humans had hidden their real progress underground, inside moons, behind radiation storms. They had learned early that curiosity from older species was never friendly. The Prometheus-class vessel was proof of that secrecy. On one display, a familiar shape appeared, a Galactic Council patrol cruiser, long, elegant, glowing with shield energy. Distance, 900 kilometers. The alien ship floated peacefully, unaware. "Bringing us up just enough to observe," the navigation officer said. The shift shifted slightly. Sensors reached upward, tasting normal space without breaking into it. The council ship passed directly overhead. No alarm sounded. No scans detected anything. The crew held their breath. "Confirmed," the sensor chief whispered. "They have no idea we're here." A quiet ripple moved through the bridge. Not cheers, not smiles, something heavier. They had just proven something terrifying. On Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the data stream in real time. Her heart pounded as lines of numbers stabilized. "Invisibility confirmed," she said. "Total sensor blindness." General Morrison stood beside her, arms crossed. "If they can't see us," he said, "they can't stop us." Elena did not answer immediately. That thought scared her more than failure ever had. The Prometheus continued its silent run, passing patrols, drifting near supply routes, slipping through defended zones as if they didn't exist. Humanity was no longer knocking on doors. It was standing inside rooms it had never been invited into. Then the warning arrived. A secure transmission burst through deep space channels. Priority extreme. The Galactic Council had acted. A Dreth hegemony strike fleet was mobilizing. 47 warships, Planet Breaker class, veterans of countless extermination campaigns. Their destination? Earth. Admiral Okoro stared at the message, jaw tight. "They didn't even hesitate," someone muttered. "They never do," Okoro replied. "They think fear works on everyone." Back on Earth, Sarah Chen received the same alert as she stepped off the return shuttle. The Council's polite masks were gone now. This was how they handled disobedience. "Have we informed the public?" she asked. "Not yet," came the reply. "Command is waiting." She nodded slowly. Humanity had always been divided, loud, messy, afraid. But when threatened, they had a habit of standing together in ways no algorithm could predict. In deep space, the Prometheus slowed.
Admiral Okoro looked at the tactical display, at the approaching enemy fleet icons glowing red like wounds in the darkness. "Bring us up," he said calmly. The crew froze. "Admiral, into normal space?" "Yes," he said. "Let them see us." He straightened his uniform. "If the galaxy insists on treating us like a problem," he said quietly, "then it's time they learned what kind of problem we are." Because the Dreth fleet was about to discover that the thing hunting them wasn't hiding anymore, and it was no longer alone. The Dreth fleet exited faster than light travel like a blade tearing through fabric. Space screamed as 47 massive warships dropped into the outer edges of the human system. Each vessel was kilometers long, armored in thick plates grown rather than built. Their presence alone bent local gravity. Smaller species had surrendered at the sight of a single Dreth ship. Fleet Commander Varkesh stood on the bridge of his flagship, Dominion Fang. He had crushed uprisings on 16 worlds. He had burned cities older than human civilization itself.
The Council did not send Dreth fleets to negotiate. They are still primitive. This will be brief. The Dreth bridge filled with low, satisfied sounds. They expected panic. They expected pleading. The response came in under 30 seconds. "This is Admiral James Okoro of the United Earth Defense Command," the human voice said, calm and clear. "Your offer is declined. Turn back now. Any further advance will be considered an act of war." Silence followed. Then laughter. "Ha ha ha ha! They threaten us with what?" an officer hissed. Varkesh's mandibles flexed. "Advance. Full formation. Prepare orbital weapons." The Dreth fleet moved forward, shields flaring to full strength. Energy levels climbed. Planet crackers charged. Then something changed. A single human ship appeared behind the Dominion Fang. No warning, no energy spike. One moment there was empty space. The next, there was a dark, angular vessel hanging impossibly close. "What?" an officer began. Reality folded. The weapon did not fire a beam. It did not launch a projectile. Space itself twisted, like cloth pulled too hard. The Dominion Fang collapsed inward. Armor plates crushed into themselves. Internal decks folded. Crew were reduced to silence before fear could even register. The flagship ceased to exist as a functional shape. The human ship vanished. Panic rippled through the Dreth formation. "Enemy contact lost. Scans show nothing." Another ship appeared, fired, disappeared. Then another. The Dreth responded with everything they had. Weapons filled space with fire. Shields flared and died uselessly. They were aiming at ghosts. The human vessel struck again and again, never staying long enough to be targeted. Each appearance ended with another Dreth warship, torn apart by forces their science could not explain. On Earth, billions watched the battle unfold through delayed feeds. Fear turned into disbelief. Disbelief turned into something dangerous: hope. Admiral Okoro stood unmoving as the Prometheus slipped in and out of the dark layer beneath space. "Maintain pattern," he said quietly. "No mercy. End it fast." Within minutes, the Dreth formation shattered. Ships broke away, attempting emergency jumps. Many failed. Space around them was distorted, hostile, wrong. Fleet Commander Varkesh died aboard a ship that never saw its enemy. When the last surviving Dreth vessels fled, they left behind wreckage and a truth that could not be undone. Humanity was no longer prey. And as the shattered remnants fled toward the Council, carrying fear instead of victory, the galaxy's oldest powers realized something far worse. This had been only one human ship. The Galactic Council chamber had seen wars, extinctions, and the fall of empires. It had never seen panic like this. Representatives shouted across the vast space, their translation fields struggling to keep up. Floating platforms drifted out of order as discipline broke down. Species that once spoke in measured tones now argued openly, fear leaking into every word. Ambassador Kalor Vryn stood frozen at the center platform. His skin had turned a sickly white. "The Dreth fleet has been defeated," a council analyst said, her voice shaking. 31 warships destroyed, the rest retreated. The chamber erupted. "Impossible! The Dreth have never lost an enforcement action. It was a trap, some kind of deception." A massive figure slammed a clawed limb into his platform. General Threx of the Dreth hegemony roared in fury. "One ship, one human ship destroyed our fleet. Our crews never saw it coming. Our weapons were useless." A holographic replay appeared in the center of the chamber. Again, they watched the impossible. A dark human vessel materializing from nothing, space bending, a Dreth dreadship collapsing like soft clay.
The footage ended in silence. Our scientists cannot explain the weapon. It is not energy-based. It is not kinetic. It appears to manipulate gravity at a fundamental level. That technology was declared impossible, another delegate snapped. It was, until now. A voice like grinding stone filled the chamber. You are looking in the wrong place. The observers had spoken. Every platform went still. The observer representative floated forward, a smooth metallic sphere reflecting the chamber's lights. This energy signature is not new, it said. It is ancient. Murmurs spread. We detected similar distortions 2 million years ago, the observer continued, left behind in ruins older than your civilizations, built by those you call the precursors. The word hit the chamber like a shockwave. They vanished, whispered someone. Yes, the observer replied, after mastering the same layer of reality the humans now touch. Fear thickened the air. What destroyed them? Kalor Vryn asked quietly. The observer paused. We do not know, it said. We only know that they reached too far, too fast, and something answered. General Threx snarled. Ancient myths do not matter. What matters is that humans now possess weapons beyond our control. They must be destroyed before they build more. Several delegates nodded. Others recoiled. They already have more, said a quiet voice. All eyes turned. A silent collective intelligence officer projected new data. Human shipyards, accelerated construction, multiple hulls nearing completion. They are no longer hiding. They are preparing. The chamber split. Some demanded immediate war, a combined fleet, total annihilation. Others argued for diplomacy, for alliance, for restraint. We pushed them into this, said High Diplomat Saren of the Eloquent. We mocked them. We rejected them. We sent enforcers to chain them, and now we are shocked that they resist. They are dangerous, Threx spat. They are unpredictable. They are human, Saren replied, and that is exactly why we should be careful. The vote was called. War won by a narrow margin. 2,000 ships would be assembled, the largest armada in galactic history. One final ultimatum would be delivered to Earth. The observer spoke one last time as the chamber adjourned. You are repeating a pattern, it warned. The last time this path was chosen, an entire civilization disappeared. No one listened. They were too busy preparing for war. Because while the Council gathered thousands of ships, humanity was doing something far more dangerous, learning how to fight together. Titan's orbit burned with activity. Massive frameworks stretched across the darkness, half-built warships locked into place by magnetic arms. Sparks flashed as drones and human crews worked without pause. There was no ceremony, no speeches, only urgency. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked through the shipyard in silence. For most of her life, she had fought equations, not enemies. Now every calculation carried the weight of extinction. The dark matter drives were stable. The weapons worked. That knowledge should have comforted her. It didn't. They'll be here in 12 weeks, Admiral Okoro said beside her. Then we won't be ready, she replied honestly. Okoro did not argue. Humanity rarely won by being ready. They won by adapting faster than expected. On Mars, crews trained around the clock. Pilots learned to navigate between layers of reality. Engineers memorized emergency protocols with systems that bent physics itself.
One mistake inside the substrate could erase a ship without leaving wreckage. On Earth, the truth was finally revealed. The announcement played on every screen. The Council, the Dreth attack, the coming fleet. There was fear, there was anger, but there was no panic. People remembered their history: ice ages, plagues, world wars, extinction-level disasters survived by luck and stubbornness. Humanity had never been protected by anyone else. Why start now? Sarah Chen stood before the United Parliament as arguments echoed around her. "We cannot beg," one representative shouted. "We cannot provoke them," another argued. Sarah raised her hand. "They already chose war," she said calmly. "The only choice left is how we meet it." The vote was swift. Earth would not surrender. In deep space, the combined fleet assembled. Ships of every design imaginable drifted into formation. Living vessels grown from coral-like structures, crystalline warships that refracted starlight, Dreth dreadnoughts rebuilt and reinforced, burning with vengeance. Supreme Commander Yaleth watched from the bridge of the Council flagship. 2,000 ships, enough firepower to erase a civilization, and yet her hands were cold. "Human fleet count?" she asked. 23 confirmed dark matter vessels," her officer replied. 23 against 2,000. The math should have been comforting. It wasn't. A channel opened. Admiral Okoro's face appeared, tired but steady. "This is your final warning," Yaleth said. "Surrender your technology, accept permanent oversight, live." Okoro sighed. "We still don't understand," he said. "We didn't build this to rule you. We built it because we knew you'd come." "You are choosing extinction," Yaleth said. "No, we're choosing not to kneel." The channel closed. The fleet advanced. Space trembled as thousands of drives ignited. Human ships waited near the outer system, silent, spread thin. Elena Vasquez stood in the control center, watching lines of data scroll past. "This is where it breaks," she whispered. "Either them or us." Okoro watched the approaching armada.
He didn't feel pride. He felt fear. And something else beneath it. Resolve. Because when the first shots were fired, the galaxy would finally learn the difference between numbers and determination. The first human ship appeared inside the enemy formation without warning. One moment, empty space, the next, darkness shaped like steel. A gravitational pulse tore outward. 3 Council warships collapsed instantly. Armor buckled, internal structures crushed, crews vanished before alarms could sound. Then, the human ship disappeared. "Spread out!" Supreme Commander Yaleth shouted. "Break formation!" The Council fleet reacted quickly. Thousands of ships scattered, shields flaring, weapons firing into empty space. Light and energy filled the battlefield, but nothing was hit. Human ships emerged in groups now, 2, 3, 4 at a time. Strike, vanish, strike again. Every appearance ended with another Council vessel destroyed or crippled. The attacks were precise, surgical, and merciless. "They're hurting us," a tactical officer shouted. "They're forcing us apart." Yaleth saw it too. The humans weren't trying to destroy everything at once. They were breaking coordination, turning numbers into confusion. "Concentrate fire zones," she ordered. "Overlap targeting fields. Catch them when they emerge." For the first time, Council strategy worked. 3 human ships appeared inside a prepared kill zone. Hundreds of weapons fired at once. 2 human vessels vanished too late. Explosions ripped them apart. Cheers erupted across Council channels. "They bleed," someone said. On the Prometheus, Admiral Okoro felt the loss like a punch to the chest. "Adapt," he said quietly. Phase 2. Dark matter mines activated. Invisible, silent, half-exists in reality devices scattered across the battlefield. The Council fleet moved forward and flew straight into them. Ships detonated without warning. Some were crippled, others torn apart by localized gravity collapse. "Unknown weapons!" panicked voices cried. "Space itself is killing us!" Formations dissolved. Captains broke ranks. Some fled, others crashed into allies in their desperation. Human ships changed tactics again. They attacked the edges, the weak points, supply vessels, command relays. Every loss multiplied confusion. After 6 hours, the battlefield was unrecognizable. Debris filled space like a shattered graveyard. "Casualty report," Yalith demanded. The reply was slow. Over 1,000 ships destroyed or disabled.
Her breath caught. How many human losses? 11 confirmed. Silence followed. Numbers meant nothing now. Yalith stared at the display, hands shaking. She could continue. She still had ships, still had weapons. But she knew the truth. They would lose everything if this continued. "Order retreat," she said. The words tasted like failure. Council ships fled, tearing holes in space as their drives forced them away. Human vessels did not pursue. They simply watched. On Earth, the news spread like fire. The impossible had happened again. Humanity had survived. No, humanity had won. Admiral Okoro stood alone after the battle, staring at the wreckage. Victory felt heavy. He remembered the observer's warning, the precursors, the price of reaching too far. Dr. Vasquez joined him, her voice quiet. "We did it," she said. "For now," Okoro replied. Because as the Council retreated in defeat, something ancient deep in the dark matter substrate began to stir, and it had noticed the noise humanity made. The galaxy went quiet, not peaceful, careful. News of the battle traveled fast, carried by fractured fleets and terrified reports. A species once dismissed as reckless and primitive had shattered the greatest armada ever assembled. The Council did not fall apart. It cracked. Worlds that had obeyed out of fear began asking questions they had never dared to ask. Minor species whispered to each other through secure channels. Old grudges resurfaced. Ancient loyalties weakened. If the humans could say no and survive, maybe others could too. The Dref hegemony withdrew from Council operations within days. Their pride was broken, their fleets damaged, their reputation shattered. Supreme Commander Threx was stripped of authority and sent into exile on a frozen moon. The enforcers had failed. Ambassador Kaelor Vryn watched it all from a private chamber, his skin shifting through colors of shame and uncertainty. "We created this," he whispered. Meanwhile, ships unlike any before began arriving at the edges of the Sol system. Not warships, diplomatic vessels, traders, observers. Species that had once ignored Earth now approached cautiously, offering technology, resources, alliances. Some came out of curiosity, others out of fear, a few out of hope. Sarah Chen received them all. "You want access," she said bluntly to one delegation, "to what we built." "Yes," their envoy admitted, "and to protection." Sarah did not smile. "We don't protect empires," she said. "We protect partners." That changed everything. On Titan, production slowed for the first time since the war began. The shipyards no longer rushed blindly. Now they planned. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked past rows of completed vessels, 30 now, with more coming. She should have felt pride.
Instead, she felt watched. "We're seeing anomalies," she told Okoro. "Deep-layer distortions, patterns." "The observers?" he asked. "They're worried," she replied. "That's new." As if summoned, an unfamiliar signal entered soul space. No weapons, no shields, just presence. The observers had arrived. Their vessel was simple, a massive silver sphere, smooth and silent. It moved without visible propulsion, as if space itself allowed it passage. Admiral Okoro met the projection personally. "We've watched civilizations rise and destroy themselves for millions of years," the observer said. "Most fail the same way. They gain power before wisdom." "And us?" Okoro asked. "You are different," it replied. "You survived first contact with the substrate." "Survived so far," Okoro said. The observer paused. "We wish to share what we know," it said, "about the precursors, about what answered them when they reached too deep." That word again, answered. Elena felt cold. On Earth, humanity celebrated, but quietly. Victory had come too easily, too quickly. History warned them what came after moments like this. Okoro stood alone that night, watching stars through reinforced glass. He didn't feel like a conqueror. He felt like someone who had knocked on a door that should have stayed closed. Because whatever destroyed the precursors was not gone, and humanity had just made sure it was no longer alone in the dark. The observer did not speak in warnings, it spoke in records. "We detected the first precursor anomalies 2 million years ago," it said, projecting patterns into the air. "Gravitational scars, reality distortions identical to what your weapons now produce." Elena Vasquez studied the shapes. Her stomach tightened. "These aren't weapons signatures," she said. "They're responses." "Yes," the observer replied. "The precursors did not invent dark matter manipulation. They disturbed it." Okoro crossed his arms. "Disturbed what, exactly?" The projection shifted. Layers appeared. Space, then another beneath it, then another still, deeper, darker, denser. "Your universe is not flat," it said. "It has depth. Most species exist on the surface. Dark matter is the pressure below." "And the precursors?" Elena asked. "They drilled too deep." Silence filled the chamber. "When they weaponized the substrate," the observer continued, "something noticed. Not a species, not an intelligence as you understand it. A system, a balancing force." "A predator?" Okoro asked. "No," the observer said. "A correction." Elena felt her breath catch. "You're saying the universe pushed back?" "Yes." On a distant monitor, new data appeared. Regular pulses. Deep space sensors registering rhythmic distortions. "Heartbeat," Elena whispered. The observer confirmed it. "Those signals began after your second battle." Okoro closed his eyes briefly. Humanity had survived the Council, but survival had a cost. On Earth, the United Parliament argued late into the night. Alliance proposals, technology exchanges, defense treaties. Dr. Vasquez interrupted them. "This isn't about politics," she said. "This is about survival at a scale we don't understand yet." She explained the layers, the precursors, the correction. The room fell silent. "So what do we do?" someone asked. Elena answered honestly. "We slow down, we learn. We don't pretend we're invincible." Okoro wasn't convinced. "Whatever this thing is," he said later, privately, "it woke up because we made noise. Hiding won't put it back to sleep." "No," Elena agreed, "but ignorance will kill us faster." In the depths beneath space, the pulses grew stronger. Not faster, stronger. The observer watched the data streams with something close to concern. "We have never seen this pattern complete," it admitted. "The precursors vanished before it finished." "And if it finishes now?" Okoro asked. "Then the correction will reach the surface layer. Earth, soul, everywhere." That night, Okoro stood again on the observation deck. Stars glittered calmly, unaware of the tension beneath them. Humanity had always fought enemies it could see. This one didn't have a face. Elena joined him, holding fresh readings. "It's adjusting, like something stretching after a long sleep." Okoro exhaled slowly. "For centuries we fought nature, then each other, then the galaxy." He looked at the dark between stars.
"Seems like we've reached the final opponent, because the thing stirring beneath reality was not interested in conquest, and it would not negotiate. The pulses spread, not like explosions, not like attacks, like pressure. Across the galaxy, sensors began to fail in strange ways. Navigation errors appeared where space had always been stable. Communications lagged for no reason. Old stars flickered, then corrected themselves, as if reality was being rebalanced. The Galactic Council noticed too. This time, there was no shouting, only fear. Ambassador Kaelor Vryn stood before the chamber again, smaller than he once seemed. "The disturbance is not human aggression," he admitted. "It is consequence." The observer's projection hovered silently nearby. "The correction does not care who caused it, only that the imbalance exists." Some delegates looked toward the human representative platform, not with anger, with expectation. Humanity had opened the door. Now everyone was standing in the draft. On Earth, emergency sessions ran non-stop. Scientists, military leaders, philosophers, people who had never shared a table before were now forced to speak honestly. "We can't fight this," a general said. "You can't shoot a law of the universe." "But we caused it," someone argued. "We have responsibility." Elena Vasquez spoke last. "We didn't create it," she said. "We touched it. That means we might also learn how to stop touching it the wrong way." "How?" the Secretary General asked. Elena hesitated. "By doing what the precursors didn't, stopping." Admiral Okoro didn't like that word. Stopping had never saved humanity before. But this enemy didn't advance. It didn't attack. It corrected. Human ships powered down their dark matter weapons. Substrate drills were shut off. Experimental systems went dark. The pulses weakened, slightly, enough to matter. The observer confirmed it. "The correction is slowing," it said. "It responds to reduced disturbance." Across the galaxy, ships followed suit. Even the Council complied. Fear made cooperation easier than pride ever had. For the first time in known history, thousands of species adjusted their technology not to gain advantage, but to survive, together. Okoro stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, looking at the silent weapons. "We spent centuries proving we wouldn't kneel," he said. Elena stood beside him. "This isn't kneeling, it's choosing when to stop pushing."
The pulses did not vanish, but they stabilized, like a storm that decided not to land. The observer delivered its final assessment. "The precursors failed because they believed power meant control," it said. "You paused. That may be enough." May. That word carried weight. Humanity had not won. It had not conquered. It had learned restraint, something no species had ever managed while holding this much power. The galaxy waited, watching, breathing, because the final question was no longer whether humanity could destroy the stars, but whether it could live with the power not to. The galaxy did not return to what it had been. It couldn't. The council still existed, but it no longer spoke with absolute authority. Decisions were slower now, softer. Every vote carried the memory of how close everything had come to ending. Humanity did not take the council's place. That surprised everyone. Instead of ruling, humans negotiated. Instead of enforcing, they mediated. Their fleets remained powerful, but quiet. Dark matter weapons stayed dormant, locked behind layers of safeguards and shared oversight. Power, for the first time in galactic history, was restrained by choice. Ambassador Kaelor Vryn stood on Earth months later, addressing the United Parliament. "We believed age made us wise," he said, his skin reflecting humility. "But wisdom is not how long you live, it is knowing when to stop." Humanity listened. They had learned the same lesson the hard way. The observers remained close, not as watchers anymore, but as partners. They shared fragments of precursor knowledge, warnings more than instructions, records of civilizations that reached too far without pausing to ask why. Dr. Elena Vasquez retired soon after. Her life's work had nearly ended the universe and then helped save it. She spent her remaining years teaching, reminding students that discovery without responsibility was just another kind of weapon. Admiral James Okoro stepped down quietly. No parade, no monument. He returned to Earth and stood beneath an open sky, something he had barely seen during the war. He watched children argue, laugh, dream. Humanity in its simplest form. Imperfect. Alive. The pulses beneath reality never vanished completely. They remained faint, distant, like scars that would never fully heal, a reminder written into the fabric of existence itself. The observer explained it simply. The universe remembers, it said, but it no longer feels threatened. That was enough.
Humanity continued to explore, but carefully. Dark matter became a tool for understanding, not domination. The stars were still dangerous, space was still vast. Fear had not disappeared, but arrogance had cracked, and that mattered. One night, Okoro visited the old Prometheus, now retired and orbiting quietly. He walked its silent halls, touching the walls of the ship that had changed everything. Humanity had once begged for a place among the stars. Then it had taken one by force. In the end, it chose something harder, responsibility. As Earth turned below, bright and fragile, Okoro smiled faintly. "We're still learning," he said softly. Far beneath space, in the deep layers of reality, the ancient systems settled back into stillness. They did not sleep. They simply watched. The small, stubborn species had been noticed. And, for the first time in millions of years, the universe decided not to correct them. The end. May this message strengthen your faith and renew your hope. Thank you for staying until the end. If this touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe to Astro Realms for more uplifting content. May God's blessings overflow in your life. See you soon.